On the surface, it really seems like we've perfected learning, right? We've got AI tutors available 24/7. You can watch Harvard lectures on a tablet from your couch. It all looks so shiny and perfect. But if you dig just a little bit deeper, you start to feel this growing sense of anxiety.
And that brings us to this really strange paradox. Our tools for learning have never been smarter, but we, the people using them, seem more worried than ever. And the gaps in our society? They're not shrinking, they're widening like crazy. So what on earth is going on?
Okay, let's break this down. On one hand, you have this incredible promise of AI education. Instant, personalized, world-class knowledge for literally everyone. But the reality, on the other hand, it's a system buzzing with anxiety and creating massive division. And the source material we're digging into today suggests this isn't some accident. Nope, it's a flaw in the entire design.
And here it is, the core idea. The problem isn't the technology, it's not the AI. It's that our whole education system is aimed at a target that's, well, it's completely obsolete now. And once you grasp that single idea, you have to look at everything differently. The real question is, what is education even for anymore?
So in this new world, education is basically splitting into two different outcomes. The first one, we can call it the operator. Now, this is someone who is really, really good at using the tools. They can execute tasks efficiently. They can run the machines that other people have built. They are capable and they are proficient.
And then you have the complete opposite, the architect. This person isn't just using the tools, they're the ones defining the problems the tools need to solve in the first place. They design the systems, and they're the ones who grapple with all the messy, complex, human values that an AI just can't touch.
This table just lays out the two paths so clearly. An operator's goal is efficiency, run the machines. An architect's goal is to define brand new problems. The operator's method is to follow instructions perfectly. But look at the architect. Their method is to take the AI's perfect answers and dismantle them to find the flaws. And their futures? Man, they could not be more different. One is ultimately replaceable by AGI, while the other is the one who directs it.
So how is this split actually playing out? How is this happening in the real world? Well, the source we're looking at identifies three great divides that are basically cracking our educational systems right down the middle.
Okay, the first big split is between performance and thought. One path is all about performance, using AI to do old tasks just faster. How to code quicker, how to generate images in seconds. It looks really advanced, but it's all about execution. The other path couldn't care less about speed. It focuses on a much, much harder skill, how to define the problem that the AI should even be working on.
And this just flips the entire goal of high-end education on its head. It is a total reversal. The most valuable skill isn't finding the right answer anymore. AI does that instantly. The real value is in asking the right question, which is something it absolutely cannot do.
Now, the second divide is in how we even learn. On one side, you've got these super efficient gamified modules. You know the ones. Bite-sized videos, fun quizzes. It's learning that feels like a game. But on the other side, you have what the source calls painful frames. These are long, hard projects that don't have a clear answer, forcing students to really, truly struggle.
So why on earth would anyone choose the painful path? Well, it's because of this critical insight. Think about it like building muscle. You can't get stronger without resistance, without lifting heavy weights. And it's the same for our minds. That intentional friction, that struggle of wrestling with a problem for a week that AI could solve in a second, that's what builds the kind of deep thinking that AGI just can't copy.
And the final split? It really comes down to the student's role in all this. Most of us are being turned into education consumers, just passively watching whatever lecture the algorithm serves up next. But a very small group is being trained to be code designers, to actively question the curriculum, to argue with it, and to build their own unique learning paths with AI as a tool, not as a boss.
And check out the difference this makes 10 years down the line. It is night and day. The consumer, the one who just passively learned, ends up taking instructions from AGI. But the code designer, they're the one giving the instructions to the AGI. That one little difference determines who is actually in control. All right, so we've seen the divides. But so what? Why does any of this matter so much? Well, the stakes are unbelievably high, because this isn't just some academic theory. This is about the future structure of our society and what's being called the collapse of average. Just let this number sink in for a moment, 90%. AGI has effectively neutralized 90% of what we used to think of as education. Things like delivering facts, grading simple tests, solving standard problems. The old model of value has been almost completely wiped out.
So here's the bottom line, the critical takeaway. The economic value of being average has basically plummeted to zero. If your main skill is average execution, that can be automated. If your value is having average knowledge, well, that's now free and instant for everyone on the planet.
This quote is, wow, it is pretty chilling. It explains the real-world consequence of all this, that good enough education, the one that used to be a safe bet for a stable, middle-class job, it now produces graduates who are, frankly, structurally redundant. The safe middle ground is just gone.
And all of this brings us to the final choice. The one single question that every single parent, every teacher, every education system now has to face. It really all boils down to one fundamental decision we have to make about thinking itself.
You can distill this whole thing down to two paths forward. One system teaches you to simply ask the AI. That's it. It's an invitation to outsource your brain, to stop thinking. But the other system, it demands something totally different. It demands that you explain why the AI's perfect answer is actually wrong, or at least insufficient. It forces you to think deeper than ever before, just to find the AI's limits.
And so that's where we're left, with this final massive question. The tools are here, they are powerful, and they are not going away. The choice we make right now, whether we're going to use them as a crutch that makes our minds weaker, or as a lever that helps us achieve a depth of thought we never dreamed possible, well, that choice is going to define the next generation and the very shape of the world they inherit.